This is your First Alert Weather Breakdown, a deep dive into how weather works with meteorologist Evan Thomason.
All right, good morning. Welcome on to KSLA News 12 First Alert Weather Breakdown. It's a sunny day across the Arklatex. Can't get too tired of that. I hope you're not tired of it. We've had it for the past week. The last measurable rainfall we had here was Wednesday of last week. You remember on the Wednesday morning it was very rainy at this time last week? Well, it's been a whole week of nothing but sunshine, and honestly, it might even continue on for the next week or so. We're kind of stuck in a huge dry period of weather, honestly. That could, it'll be nice at least around with the sunshine, and if you enjoy some warmer temperatures out as well. I will say the lows still getting down into the 60s, even some lows potentially getting down in the 50s here for tomorrow. But yeah, we're hanging around with the sunshine for quite a while. We'll see what that does to our droughts a little bit later. But hello, I'm meteorologist Evan Thomason here in the First Alert Weather Center. Thank you for watching us again. I'm looking at YouTube, KSLA News, KSLA.com, and also on our live stream. Thanks wherever you're watching from. If you're on YouTube again, let me stress this out. If you have a question or comment, write it to us on there. If you're watching on KSLA.com and was like, oh, hi, I want to talk to you while you're talking to me, we can have a conversation together. And just all you have to do is go to YouTube, comment under our live stream, and I will see it on this computer just over to my right. All right, today's episode is going to go a little quickly. Just so you know, we have something coming up at 11 a.m. on this live stream for those of you watching on KSLA.com. So usually when that happens, they kind of got to skedaddle the podcast just a little bit more with some urgency, especially because we have a little bit of a lengthy, extended, exclusive rundown here for you today. That is not it. Excuse me. That is it. That's the full page I was looking for. All right. So today we're talking about a local sunny forecast, the Met Chat. That's our exclusive content for today. All four meteorologists will be talking about which state they would rather live in. The main only requirement, now we'll go over this in the actual chat itself, but the main requirement of this was we couldn't choose a state in the Arklatex. We love the Arklatex, don't get me wrong, but if you had to choose a state outside of Arkansas, Texas, and Louisiana, which other state would you live in? You'll have to find out all four of our answers coming up. We'll also have a preview of tomorrow's episode, which will be lots of fun. We have a look at the tropics here tomorrow, which is certainly very active. We've discussed it a little bit, especially the area of interest in the Gulf of Mexico. That's still looming large. We'll talk about that in the local forecast. But there's been tons of other things happening in the Atlantic Ocean. It's been very active. Ever since Helene was there, we've gone through Isaac, Joyce. Both those storms have already passed us. Just within the past week, they're now gone completely. We have Kirk right now, and Leslie is about to form. I'm going more into detail on that tomorrow. All right, let's get straight into it. We need to go actually a little quicker on this weather forecast here for today, sadly. But again, if you want your questions, comments, anything of that sort of nature answered, go visit us on YouTube. All right, so let's get straight into the weather forecast. I'm maneuvering everything around here. All right, so beautiful blue skies again here for today. Here's your forecast headlines. It's quiet. It's calm. It's been that way ever since Monday. You could honestly argue it's been that way since last Wednesday. Again, our last measurable rainfall around here. We're overall staying very warm. We actually had a cold front come through last night, but it was a baby one, mainly because it didn't give us any rain. It didn't give us any bit of wet weather really at all. In the slightest. It's the reason why it is a cold front, though, is it's giving us slightly cooler temperatures and even lower humidity. Humidity's going to be almost non-existent between today and tomorrow. I already got a comment on Facebook saying they didn't really even break out that much of a sweat mowing the lawn this morning, even though we still have temperatures into the upper 80s here today. We'll get to that in just a moment. Here's a live look at our IR satellite. I'm going to take myself away from this actually real quick as well. That's a whole look at the United States. It's quiet and calm for most of everybody across the continental United States, which is really saying something, not just in terms of the Arklatex staying dry here locally, but everybody's enjoying nice weather. And the last point I want to make is we're not expected to pull in anything major, rain chance-wise, into the Arklatex anytime soon. The only mess that we have is in the Gulf of Mexico and the tropics, and some of that moisture is actually going to look to come onshore into southern Louisiana heading into Friday and Saturday, and we might get just a slim chance of rain with that actually heading into your Friday and Saturday. We'll get into that beyond the future track, at least in for today and tomorrow. it's nice and dry. You've got a little bit of cloud cover on the east and west side, but besides that, I mean, you're staying completely dry over the next several days. Friday, it's a 10 to 20% chance of rain, only for those around Nacogdoches and Natchitoches, closer to southern Louisiana and those coastal showers. Now, as it feels like temperature over the next several days, we're down to highs in the mid-80s here for today, after highs for the past couple of mornings have been in the lower 90s. Just a quick cool down here to feels like temperatures in the mid-80s here for today and tomorrow, and then we're back up to 90 by Friday, and it's a little more humid actually in for your weekend as well. All right, Kurt, quick first look at your tropics. We got to get this rolling here. 40% chance for an area of interest to form in the Gulf of Mexico. I know there's a lot going on in the Atlantic Ocean. We'll go over that mainly here for tomorrow's podcast. But this system, it's been all over the place with the models. Models can't decide if they want it to form, if they don't want it to form. Some models are still picking up on something. That's why the area of interest still is there. I will say all the models that have it forming have this storm going into Florida. Good news for us, not good news for Florida again. So yeah, we'll stay first alert about that. Meanwhile, and we'll see how it forms out in the next 4 to 5 days. It's still kind of its chances for development, or excuse me, the date for development still kind of just keeps getting pushed back. It seems like 88 here today, 91 by Friday. There's that 10% rain chance in for Friday and Saturday. Again, that's mainly for our southern counties and parishes. We get highs up to 90 degrees here for the weekend. Just a little more humidity in store for both Saturday and Sunday. Notice the lows, especially tomorrow morning. Lows this morning were only down in the upper 60s here for the most part. Lows could be down to 58 for Thursday morning. Might want to grab some layers or prep yourself up for some layers out the door here for Thursday morning, especially if you're up early. Temperatures, especially for the lows, moderate themselves a little bit, especially for the weekend, but then we could cool down into next week. Look at Tuesday, 81's our high, 56 is our low, heading to Tuesday morning. All right, that's our local forecast. We got to keep it rolling here on First Alert Weather Breakdown. Coming up, we have our Met Chat up next. Don't want to miss it. I'll explain all the details about the states we want to live in and break down all the rules, and we'll get into it after this.
And welcome to the First Alert Weather Breakdown. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm joined by Matt, CJ, Austin, and a little bit different here for today, actually, mainly because a little bit of some different settings. I'm, for one, in kind of a unique setting back at my apartment. CJ, a little bit of the same as well, and Austin and Matt kind of in your same domains, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Matt, your portrait behind you has become
location
famous.
at the station.
What happened to the portrait behind me?
It's become famous. in these Met chats now.
I don't even know what it is. I don't even know what it is. I never look at it. It's like
I
a
don't
dock
even
or
know.
something.
Matt
I
buys
literally never look at it.
hotel art for his house.
I actually literally never even look at it. I think it's a dock.
He's like, yeah, it just showed up there at my own place.
Austin has some
Yeah.
art
This
too.
one's signed.
Ooh.
That's kind of nice.
I can't read it because I can't read cursive that well. But
Anyways, let's get into it. All right, so we are here joining Weather Met Chat. Over the past couple of weeks, we've been talking about a little more some serious topics in a way, tropics, preparing a hurricane preparedness kit, that kind of thing. We're still in the peak of the season, still for another week or so, but I realized we haven't gone over kind of a, I don't know, more of a lighthearted, fun question, so to speak. So I made one up here for today, and I know I sent it to you beforehand, and you at least had a chance to prepare for this test. But the question for our audience is just, you know, is you're going to pick a state. All four of us are going to pick a state. In that state, you must be satisfied with your living conditions. Basically, the question is, what state do you want to live in that has the best conditions for the entire year? Can't just accept it for a season and be like, hey, I want to live in Chicago for the summer because it's nice and cool there, but I don't want to live there for the winters at all. You can't do that year round. The only other requirements is that it has to be a state outside of the Arklatex. No Arkansas, no Texas, no Louisiana. All right.
Okay.
Who's up to the plate first?
This is
Who's got their
for a
answer?
specific. Is this a specific area that we would want to live in, like with the best conditions, or we think is the best conditions? Like, what's
I think you have to put yourself in that environment, CJ.
okay? Got you. Got you. Well,
Mhm.
I'll go first. I would say where I grew up in Maryland, we pretty much saw every type of weather condition, where there was like snowing, where there was 100-degree days, some very rare occasions, and we even saw some severe weather sometimes in Maryland. Sometimes even some tornadoes. I've never seen a tornado in person before in Maryland, but we have had tornado warnings in the area before. So I believe it'll be the best, in my opinion, where I grew up, because you get to pretty much see everything. And even though it's not as warm as the southern United States or as cold as the northern United States, I definitely prefer that warmer climate. I believe it's more warmer out of the year rather than cooler in Maryland. So I just believe that would be perfect in my opinion.
That's respectable. You gotta get a little bit of everything, but you don't have too much threat from like everything, so to speak.
Exactly.
I admire that.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I'll go next. I'm also gonna go with my home state of Colorado. I was born and raised in Denver, and Colorado gets just crazy weather all year round, and I like a challenging area for weather, and I like to experience all different weather. And you know, you get all four seasons, which I love. You get the extreme of the extremes. You know, wintertime you'll get massive blizzards, you'll get sub-zero cold. Springtime you'll get, you know, tornado outbreaks. You know, we'll get, you know, snowstorms all the way through April, end of April in Denver. Not unheard of at all. And then summers tend to be pretty nice, but you know, we can still get some wild weather. And I remember so many times growing up there where I would, you know, spend half my weekend in the mountains skiing in the snow, and then that same weekend come back to Denver and go golfing. It was 75 degrees in the same state, same time.
Wow.
how's the wildfire situation in
That's the
Colorado?
only downside. Yeah, that's the downside. Is the wildfire situation. Although this could be actually a different chat in the future, but climate change 100% is contributing to the increase in wildfires out west. And back when I lived in Denver, which was quite a long time ago, I don't remember having quite as frequent issue with the wildfires and the poor air quality as they do now. So I guess in today's current state, maybe not. But yeah, that's kind of a big downside with Colorado. Any of the western states with, you know, they get the super dry, you dry out in the summer, and then you get that wildfire season. So
Yeah,
Pretty
so
cool.
we got a trend here. We got a trend here of home states, and my home state of Kentucky's too hot. So we're not going there. And this is actually something that, you know, my wife and I have looked into rather seriously. Probably about an hour to an hour and a half, hour and a half south, or in the radius of Minneapolis, so Minnesota. Because I don't like the heat that much, and it don't get a whole lot of it. It'll still get warm in the summer, so we can. You would still get to participate in summer activities,
Mhm.
but the humidity is not typically as oppressive. And then once it gets cold and cools down, it stays that way until the following late spring and early summer. Now you might say, but Austin, that's a lot of snow, and you're not wrong. However, Minnesota knows how to deal with it.
Yes.
So it won't
That's
be
true.
ultimately not the biggest of hurdles. In upstate New York, we had that big 30-inch snow event, and other than me standing out in it for live shots, infrastructure wise, everything was pretty fine. So after a little bit, so that's where I'm going. I'm going to get cold, because and the places, the houses there, the apartments there, built for the cold.
Mhm.
Now finding one with central AC, I've learned might be a bit of a difficult task, because that's another thing that I rather value, central air conditioning. But yeah, it's a lot less of the heat, a lot more of the colder weather that I can actually dress fashionably in, because fashion involves layers, and that is the more ideal scenario for me personally.
feel like me and Austin are on the same page. We're looking forward to like sweater weather and just put on
Yeah,
layers.
Man,
that's
I
what I was
can't wait to
thinking.
bring. I can't wait to start wearing hoodies to work, uh, in December, I guess.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll
What
be
do you
great.
think, Evan?
Well, unlike all three of you, well, Austin, I appreciate you going out of the comfort of your home state. My home state isn't even in the running because my home state is Louisiana, so I don't even have the
Eliminated.
option. I don't even have the option to choose it if even if I wanted to. Uh, to be honest, I still probably wouldn't choose it at the end of the day. The heat and humidity, it's a little too much. I appreciate the winters
Mhm.
being moderated a little bit. Although I do like snow, I will say that. I gotta get a little dose, little dosage of snow at least per winter, so to speak. Get a
Ice
little cold in.
or ice.
Build a snowman.
Mhm.
Get out the hot chocolate. And for
Mm.
temperatures that are lower than 30 degrees, occasionally. Not often, not persistent, so to speak. State I would
Mhm.
probably choose is North Carolina, which is technically the state that's under a lot of unfortunate flooding issues currently right now on the western half. I put myself right in the middle of the state. Uh, Honestly, just somewhere
Kind of the
going
Raleigh Durham area.
exactly. Yeah, put yourself where you can still get snow, but you can still get plenty of chances for heat as well. It's kind of a
Mm.
good bit of both, and it's a place I feel like where you can actually enjoy a variety of all four seasons in moderation as well. I feel like yes, it's still a southern state; it'll still get hot, but the duration of how long that heat will last will be a little more respectable rather than still having temperatures in the 90s in October. So yeah, it'll be a little more reasonable. The humidity will hopefully be just a little more reasonable as well, even though it's a coastal state. Yes. Um, yeah, I think that's what I'm going for, North Carolina as well. So
All right.
I
That's
think
my
if you get into
second
the
choice.
mountains, that changes.
it changes a
I
little bit in
Mhm.
the
think
mountains. That is true.
the humidity thing, but I
Mhm.
haven't looked into Appalachian weather in a long time, so I
I mean,
don't
that's
think
the
my word's
western
right.
half of the yeah, that's the western half of the state. I'd probably if I put myself
Yeah,
there, I put
yeah.
myself in the middle. So I think that's a little more plains. Like I think it's mainly just the western edge. Obviously, with all those flooding issues right next to all those
Mhm.
mountain and valley towns. But
Yeah.
the point is, I put myself in the central part of the state. Choose that. So
Wow. After hearing everybody's answers, I'm surprised nobody said the beach or anything. Cause me personally, I love the beach. I love the beach, and I grew up about 5-10 minutes, good old bike ride to the beach in Maryland, and I enjoyed every second of it. I was out at the
Well, I
beach
mean,
almost every summer.
You
Yeah.
kind you kind of did choose it. I mean, none of us chose Hawaii.
Oh, too far away. Too far.
True.
And it's
True.
like, you know how much of a pain it's got to be to try to move there.
And it's extremely expensive, and a gallon of milk is like 10 bucks
Yeah,
there.
it's
Yeah.
boat or plane.
$10.
How else are you gonna get there?
This is solely based on the weather, people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
sorry.
Oh,
No, I
well,
mean,
you start thinking, and then the brain starts moving, and it's like, oh my god, how would I even do that?
now I will say though,
Yeah.
I will say the Carolinas would be my second choice. Like I've always North or South Carolina. I really actually like Charlotte a lot. Charlotte, North Carolina would definitely be that area. Would definitely would be like my second choice behind Colorado, probably.
Appreciate that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I would say mine is probably CJ's. My second choice. My CJ is Maryland. I'll probably take that.
Okay.
Minnesota, a little.
Depends on which part, because it depends on which part, because there's some parts
Yeah.
of Maryland, like Western Maryland near West Virginia, where it's like you're in the mountains and it's pretty much like being in Alaska. And then you have the part where I grew up in, where it's basically like the total opposite. Like you're in Florida. It's mainly hot, or it's not as hot as Florida would be, but it's like it's tropical feeling almost. It's by the right by the beach. So yeah, there's two different sides of Maryland. Then you got one in between where it's the counties around DC, where it's just like the city life, you know.
As I said, I'd probably put myself in your shoes, mainly because the other two options I probably have a little too much cold for me, and specifically for Matt's as well, a little too much smoke.
Hey, you could pick Colorado. I mean, you get the mountains, you get the cold and snow, and then you get beautiful weather in Denver. You know.
It's
beautiful weather on top
it's
of the
either
smoke.
Colorado or like the PNW, which is number 2 for me. So like, you know, it's 1 and 2 cold.
Yeah.
So,
I appreciate that. All right, I think we had some good answers, some good choices all around. Thanks again for joining me. Hope you enjoyed this fun little question. I really appreciate it, and yeah, thanks guys for again coming out for another Met Chat here today. But for me, meteorologist Evan Thomas, and thanks for watching the Met Chat with all 4 of us. You have a great rest of your day. Well, I'll see you back on the desk, I should say, in just a moment. Thanks again for watching. Peace out for now from us.
Yep.
Till next time.
All right, welcome back to KSLA News 12 First Look with a breakdown with me live now. Let's wrap up this episode. We unfortunately got to go right after this. First of all, if you really enjoyed this, you should send us a topic for us to talk about in our next Met Chat. We're always looking for new and cool ways to talk about different things with all 4 of us together on the desk in one place. Again, that's quite a rare commodity, especially because all 4 of us have different sleeping schedules. Send us an email, weatherbreakdown@ksla.com. You can also message any of us on Facebook. You can join us weekdays at 10:30. We have an episode again tomorrow right here at 10:30 a.m. I'll be back on Thursday now, heading into the second half of the work week. For tomorrow, we're going to talk more about the tropics. We only really talked about the system in the Gulf, but boy, the Atlantic Ocean has been pumping storms left and right. Thankfully, they've only been fish storms out for now. But we'll go into more depth of where Kirk is going, and I believe Leslie might form in the next day or so by the time we get into the podcast here for tomorrow as well. So we'll get to that later. Again, thanks for watching KSLA News 12 First Alert Weather Breakdown. I'm meteorologist Evan Thompson. You have a great rest of your Wednesday. Stay hydrated, stay cool, especially heading into the weekend when it gets a little more humid too. And I will talk to you all later. See you tomorrow, 10:30. Be there. See you later.